The following program, The Russ Belville Show, is intended for responsible adults only. We advocate to the repeal of marijuana prohibition for adults. We discuss the science, culture, and controversy about America's marijuana laws. We do not advocate any illegal activity and encourage all listeners to learn their state and federal marijuana laws. Opinions and claims made by guests and advertisers on The Russ Belville Show are their own, and The Russ Belville Show cannot be held legally responsible for their validity or reliability. Viewer discretion is advised.
You take a seed, you plant it, you grow it, you dry it, you roll it, you smoke it. You take a seed, you plant it, you grow it, you dry it, you roll it, you smoke it, and it goes down smooth. Hey!
Spanning the continent to bring you the truth about cannabis and marijuana law reform.
I smoke pot and I like it a lot.
From the promise of legalization.
And I think that we need to rethink and decriminalize our marijuana laws.
To the agony of prohibition.
One major responsibility is to encourage people to use less drugs.
The Russ Belville Show, the voice of the marijuana nation.
Yeah, I hear you had a question for me.
Now, here's your host, Radical Russ Belville.
We love it.
Good day, tokers and tokeheads, and welcome to the show. It is Wednesday, January 8th, 2014, and we begin today with a heavy heart as we learned last night of the passing of one of our moderators, one of our original supporters, Chris Stereotype Hanley, who was one of our moderators in the chat room, a volunteer for 420 Radio, and even before then, going back to Normal Show Live and the Normal Network. I got the chance to meet him a number of times in person as he volunteered at our various events. And of course, he was always in our chat room. I mean, he was the only other person in the chat room when I'd be up at 4 in the morning or 2 in the morning working on code. I could chat with Rio, and now he's left us. He's gone. And according to his brother, Nate Hanley, there was a tragic accident. That's all the details that the family is releasing at this moment. I will let you know more as they let me know more. If you wish to offer any condolences or pass on any wishes or support for the family, you can do so at Nate Hanley's Facebook page, nate.hanley, Hanley. All right, on today's show, we are going to continue our fight for the end of adult marijuana prohibition, just like Stereotype would want us to. And we'll do that today by taking a look at the 6 right-wing blowhards out there. I put 5 on the graphic there. I got to change that. It's actually 6 that I was able to collect because I had forgotten about my good friend Bill O'Reilly. 6 right-wing blowhards who are just predicting the end of the world now that Colorado has legalized the sales of marijuana for all adults. We'll get to those in our Radical Rant at the end of the show. Also on the show today, we've got a very special guest joining us. Dr. David Bearman from the American Academy of Cannabinoid Medicines joins us for the debut of our new segment, Cannabinoid Medicine Update. We will be doing this every other Wednesday. So this will be like the second and fourth Wednesdays of the month. We'll be visiting with another clinician in the world of cannabis science and to tell us what the latest information is on cannabinoid medicines. Dr. Bearman will be talking to us today at past. Also on today's show, we got more information from that CNN poll on American attitudes toward marijuana legalization. Some more shocking numbers that I'll bring to you in Behind the Headlines. We got Gordon Green joining us for our Irie Wednesday tonight, also to preview the premiere of his new show, Gordon Green's Music Planet, that aired earlier today on 420 Radio. You'll catch the replay tomorrow night at 10 p.m. All that is coming up, and the 420 Radio News is next when we return.
We'll be right back after these messages from our 420 friendly sponsors. Support these advertisers because their ad money goes straight to the Russ Belville Show. You're tuned into the Russ Belville Show, the voice of the marijuana nation.
I'm Radical Russ Belville, and I want to thank you for listening to 420 Radio. We couldn't survive without you and our sponsors, and I'd like you to check out one of our prime sponsors, the National Cannabis Coalition. I've been working with NCC since June of 2012, and I'm proud to be part of the team they have assembled. National Cannabis Coalition is building the partnerships with reformers, lawmakers, and industry we need to be successful. Visit the National Cannabis Coalition website at nationalcannabiscoalition.com or the easier-to-remember ncc420.com. That's where you'll get the exclusive first look at my radical rants, as well as informative articles from the nation's top cannabis pundits. Visit ncc420.com today, and if you have your phone handy, text Russ to 420-420 to support NCC and 420 Radio. It's a free text message that helps us help you end adult marijuana prohibition. Learn more at ncc420.com, and thanks for supporting independent marijuana legalization public radio. You can get 420 Radio on the go with the Ustream video app for Android and iPhone. Go to rad-r.us/420Ustream or just click the Ustream app icon for Android or iPhone below the live radio feed at 420radio.org. The law offices of Omar Figueroa would like to remind you to stand up for your rights. Please do not give up your precious liberties. There's nothing wrong with standing up for our constitutional rights, and in fact, it's the best way to honor the Constitution that recognizes our natural rights. Treat law enforcement with respect and respect the Constitution by standing up for your rights. If you are detained or arrested, stand up for your rights by repeating, "I respectfully invoke all of my legal and constitutional rights. I do not consent to any search and seizure. I want to remain silent, and I want to speak with my attorney, Omar Figueroa." Omar Figueroa has more than a decade of experience in federal and California courts and graduated from Yale University, Stanford Law School, and Trial Lawyers College. Please contact the law offices of Omar Figueroa at 415-489-0420 or 707-829-0215 or on the web at omarfigueroa.com. This is your 420 Radio News for Wednesday, January 8th, 2014. I'm Russ Belville. Marijuana businesses may be able to access federally controlled banking services by the end of the first quarter. Dan Riffle, a spokesman for the Marijuana Policy Project, told business network CNBC that, quote, "Everyone at this point is working together, so it's just a matter of having a lot of different government agencies and bureaucracies all on the same page," end quote. Most dispensaries and pot shops in the states that have medicalized or legalized marijuana are unable to open accounts, get loans, and process credit and debit cards because of federal laws that prohibit banks from laundering drug money. The federal bureaucracies involved include Treasury and Justice Departments, the Federal Reserve, FDIC, Financial Crimes Enforcement Network, and others. In the interim, private groups like the ArcView Group and the new High Times Growth Fund have stepped in to raise capital and invest in marijuana startups. ArcView estimates marijuana to be a $1.4 billion industry, and High Times will be raising $100 million for investments. The rollout of Colorado's legal marijuana system has led to soaring value in the world of marijuana stocks. Most marijuana businesses are so-called penny stocks, selling on markets outside the regulations, audits, and disclosures required of companies trading on the large stock markets like New York Stock Exchange and NASDAQ. However, one business traded on the big markets, MedBox, the maker of biometric marijuana vending machines, has seen its share value increase by 65% and is now trading at $66 per share with a value of nearly $1 billion. Other stocks with massive growth post-legalization include Green Grow, a service provider for growers, up 77%, Hemp Inc., a hemp product seller, up 100%, and Grow Life, a hydroponics outfitter, is up 475% in the new year. In a surprise to nobody who understands marijuana economics, Washington State is facing the possibility that they'll have too many licensed growers of recreational marijuana. The state has processed some 2,000 applications with another 600 in waiting. Allison Holcomb, who wrote the I-502 legalization law, says that's about 10 times more recreational growers than the state needs. At issue is the fact that the Washington State Liquor Control Board, in charge of implementing the law, is capping statewide production at 2 million square feet, working out to an average of just over 760 square feet, or about a 27-foot by 28-foot garden, if all applications are accepted. This is a concern for the growers who have applied for licenses in 3 tiers, less than 2,000 square feet, 2,000 to 10,000 square feet, and 10,000 to 30,000 square feet, and may see their business plans built around the economics of a large grow dashed when the state requires them to grow far less than anticipated. Buying and smoking a joint are perfectly legal in Colorado, but you may still be fired from your job for a dirty pee test. Colorado's Amendment 64 maintained the right of employers to use drug tests as determinants for firing and not hiring workers. While Colorado has a statute that protects its citizens from discrimination for their lawful off-duty activities, the courts have decided that marijuana's federal illegality trumps Colorado's constitution for the purposes of determining if an off-duty activity is lawful. Washington state has no off-duty activities law, so employer discrimination against legal marijuana use is the norm there as well. This situation mirrors the dilemma for patients in most of the medical marijuana states that have no protection for their legal medical use of marijuana and may be discriminated against for their off-duty pot use. Currently, only Arizona, Connecticut, Delaware, Illinois, and Rhode Island have any employment protection for patients, and even they allow exceptions for employers who'd be punished for not drug testing patients. In an interview this weekend, former director of the Peruvian National Drug Control Commission, Ricardo Soberon, called on his South American country to follow the example of Uruguay and consider the legalization of marijuana. Quote, "Let's open a forum that deals first and foremost with the health issues and secondly with safety and the implications of marijuana use," said Soberon. The possibility of removing the criminal element from the cannabis trade, a drug that is a lot less dangerous than others, is the answer to 50 years of repeating the same strategies with no results. End quote. Peru, like many South American countries, has legalized consumption of marijuana. An adult may carry up to 8 grams, or a little over a quarter of an ounce. But cultivation of marijuana and the sales of marijuana are still considered crimes in the South American country of Peru. This has been your 420 Radio News for Wednesday, January 8th, 2014. I'm Russ Belville. When we come back, we go behind the headlines for more numbers from the CNN poll we reported on yesterday, showing 55% support for marijuana legalization nationwide. In these numbers, we'll find out how many people in America believe marijuana is safer than alcohol. You're listening to The Russ Belville Show on 420radio.org. We'll be right back. Cannabis Outreach Collective is an alternative health and wellness option located in Gladstone, Oregon, that serves patients in the Portland area and beyond. We are a full-service alternative health and wellness collective accommodating patients with natural, organic, holistic, and homeopathic remedies, nutritional guidance, advice, education, and medical cannabis, fully in accordance with Oregon OMMP law. You can find out more about Cannabis Outreach Collective on Facebook at COC503 or by emailing cannabisoutreachcollective503@gmail.com or by telephone at 503-853-1319. Check out our menu on Weed Maps and visit Cannabis Outreach Collective today.
Marijuana, do you wanna? Mary, do you wanna tonight?
As marijuana goes mainstream, you need to be armed with the facts. Nobody can teach you better than Dr. Mitch Earlywine, Ph.D. You may know Dr. Mitch from his column in High Times magazine or his weekly appearance on The Russ Belville Show. Dr. Mitch is also the author of some of the best books on marijuana science, culture, history, and health, including Understanding Marijuana, Parents' Guide to Marijuana, Pot Politics, and more. Visit Amazon.com and search for Mitch Earlywine, that's EARLEYWINE, and order your books today. You can also contact Dr. Mitch by email at 420research@gmail.com.
Cannabis Network Radio, starring David Kowalski from Tampa, Florida. Thursdays at 8 a.m. Pacific on 420radio.org.
Welcome back, everyone. Time for us to go behind the headlines. And yesterday we reported on the CNN poll that showed 55% of Americans believe that marijuana should be legalized. And they released some more numbers from the poll today that I thought we should go over. And the important thing to take away from this is that 3 out of 4 Americans believe that marijuana is safer than alcohol. Yes, finally. Now, hats off to Mason Tvert, Paul Armentano, and Steve Fox. When they released their book, Marijuana is Safer Than Alcohol, So Why Are We Driving People to Drink?, the country was divided on whether that statement was true. But now, according to this latest CNN poll, nearly 3 out of 4, or actually 74% of Americans, believe alcohol is more dangerous than cannabis. And this is a fact that's now recognized by every demographic. Where the support for prohibition still exists among people that are over the age of 65, they still think it should be illegal. A plurality of people over 65 believe marijuana is safer than alcohol. 47% of seniors believe marijuana is safer than alcohol, compared to a quarter of them who think it's equally dangerous and another quarter who think marijuana is more dangerous. And among ages 50 to 64, marijuana is safer comes in at 74%. And when you get under the age of 50, more than 4 out of 5 people recognize that marijuana is safer than alcohol. That's 80 and 81% respectively for the age groups of 30 to 49 and 18 to 29. In fact, even rural conservative Republican Southerners, the folks that we identified yesterday as the only people who still support marijuana prohibition, even rural conservative Republican Southerners understand that alcohol is the more dangerous drug. Conservatives and Republicans come in at 62%, rural residents come in at 69%, and Southerners come in at 72%. Now, this bodes well for the future marijuana legalization because, as Steve Fox identified back in 2004, people that understand marijuana is safer than alcohol are much more likely to support legalization than the people who think it's more dangerous than alcohol. Now, CNN also asked about tobacco compared to alcohol. And this was compared to marijuana, excuse me. This is kind of some interesting data as well, because despite the fact that tobacco is the most dangerous drug in America, kills far more people than alcohol, illegal drugs, and prescription drugs combined, despite that, Americans view it more favorably than they do alcohol. Almost 2/3, 64%, believe that tobacco is more dangerous than marijuana, compared to the 74% who thought alcohol was more dangerous than marijuana, alcohol more dangerous than marijuana. And then a quarter of people, about 23%, believe marijuana is more dangerous than tobacco. Who are these people? They also asked about the relative morality of marijuana versus alcohol. They asked people for various substances if they thought it was immoral to use that substance. And people feel marijuana is more immoral than alcohol by a 2-to-1 margin. Only 1/6 of the people, about 16%, believe drinking is a vice, compared to over a third, 35%, who feel toking is a vice. Now, maybe this has to do with the fact that toking is still illegal in most places, and maybe these people just believe breaking the law is morally wrong. And there's some numbers to support that, because the poll found only 30% in the West who believe that smoking marijuana was wrong, and that's where the 2 states with legal marijuana are. And again, this is the same poll that found 55% support nationwide for marijuana legalization. It also went and asked if alcohol and tobacco should be legal. Now, overwhelmingly, Americans oppose prohibition on these current legal drugs. 81% support legal alcohol and 71% support legal tobacco. And as far as Kevin Sabet's slippery slope fear that legalizing marijuana means legal meth is just around the corner, well, they also asked people what they thought about legalizing hard drugs. Here's what they found. The polls showed 4% support the legalization of heroin, 4% support the legalization of cocaine, and 3% support the legalization of meth. So it doesn't look like legalization of hard drugs is anywhere around the corner. Now, nearly 4 out of 5 Americans believe that the use of cocaine is morally wrong, and 80% believe the use of heroin is morally wrong. So there's still some things we're going to have to change here to get people to understand the relative safety of marijuana and the need to end drug prohibition altogether. But so far, it looks like marijuana is safer, is accepted by most of America. All right, everybody, welcome here. We are having ourselves a hell of a break. Brian the Red's here, Cool Craig's over there, and Eden, our first-time guest, has stopped in over there. We'll talk to her in hour 2. Stick around, we got to take a break.
Oh, have you ever met that funny reefer man? A reefer man. Have you ever met that funny reefer man? A reefer man. If he said he swam to China, he would sell you South Carolina. Then you know you're talking to that reefer man.
I'm a reefer smoking man.
Wood Pipe Smoke Shop and Speakeasy is your source for cannabis community gear in southern Wisconsin. Owners Brian and Tammy Wood are located in Kendall, just outside of Madison, and they've got everything for the smoking enthusiast, including a full assortment of pipes, water pipes, hookahs, bubblers, one-hitters, and so much more. They're open noon to 8 p.m. Monday through Saturday and can help you with your detoxification therapies as well. Call 608-466-7473 or email woodpipes@yahoo.com for more information. That's 608-466-7473 or email woodpipes@yahoo.com. And as always, go pack go.
Support the Russ Belville Show. Text the word Russ to 420-420 and connect with the National Cannabis Coalition. You can also send $10 to the Russ Belville Show right from your smartphone. That's Russ to 420-420. You're listening to Radical Russ on the Russ Belville Show.
Hi, this is Willie Nelson. Friends, it's time we legalize the responsible use of marijuana and stop treating marijuana smokers like criminals. We're destroying the lives and careers of hundreds of thousands of good, hard-working Americans every year in this country for no good reason. There's absolutely nothing wrong with smoking pot. For more information on how you can help legalize marijuana, please contact Normal at norml.org.
Everyone knows music and marijuana go together, so let's wind up our 20 after break with the Russ Belville Show's Daily Toker Tunes, the best in pod-safe 420 music from around the web. Today is Irie Wednesday, featuring reggae, ska, and other world music genres. Now, sit back and enjoy your Daily Toker Tunes.
Welcome back, everybody. It's 23 after the hour, and we are going to bring you some Irie Wednesday music from Gordon Green's Music Planet. It's our latest new music show on the 420 Radio Network. You can catch it Wednesdays at 11 a.m. Pacific, and there are replays throughout the week, 2 replays. You can catch the first replay Friday, 1 in the morning, and Saturday, 1 in the afternoon. Those are, of course, Pacific time. Gordon Green's got some great music. I listened to the first show today. Lots of really good Brazilian and Cuban. Had a very Latin feel for the first show today. I encourage you all to check it out. It's a great show. For today, we're going to give you a little Irie music from Elijah Prophet. This is Piece of Ganja.
Just a good sense, oh yes. Meditation for the brain. Only weed, no cocaine. Yes, smoke no sense, oh yes. The truth it is, I have to confess. Officer, nobody charge me. smoke one piece of ganja. Your Honor, no charge me. We smoke this sense in me. I know the sense is good for my brain, and it was found on Solomon's grave. Believe what I say. It cure the flu and it cure your asthma. You think I joke me and make one go ask the doctor. Believe me, Your Honor. So officer, nobody charge me. We smoke one piece of ganja. Your Honor, no charge me. We smoke this sense in me. Officer, nobody lock me up. We smoke one piece of ganja. Your Honor, no charge me. We smoke this sense in me. Sense in me, I send the Russ go to school. Me never take up no gun for no tool. Can't take life be fool. Well, if you lock me up for the sense, lock up the man for the sugar cane. The sense is good for the brain. When I need some meditation, you think I joke, I say me Rasta man. All the liar, I light it up. A meditation time, me not commit no crime. Me love me ganja right how me love me life. Smoke ganja and eat piece of pie. So officer, nobody charge me. We smoke one piece of ganja. Your Honor, no charge me. We smoke this sense in me now. Officer, nobody lock me up. We smoke one piece of ganja. Your Honor, no charge me. We smoke this sense in me now. Ganja man from Italy. Now stroke okay, them no pity. Everyone attack out their says you're pretty. No make we check back on a Jamaican. Check Westmoreland now we take Clarendon. Digging up all of the ganja man. So officer, nobody lock me up. We smoke one piece of ganja. Your Honor, no charge me. We smoke this sense in me now. Officer, nobody lock me up. We smoke one piece of ganja. Your Honor, no charge me. We smoke this sense in me now. Just give me the sense from younger ways. Yes, it's the best. I have to confess. Oh yes, oh yes, oh yes. Me light up the sense. A meditation time. Me not commit no crime. Me love me ganja right how me love me life. Smoke ganja and eat piece of pie. Long time officer, nobody lock me up. We smoke one piece of ganja. Your Honor, no charge me. We smoke this sense in me now. Officer, nobody lock me up. We smoke one piece of ganja. Your Honor, no charge me. We smoke this sense in me now.
Support the Russ Belville Show. Text the word Russ to 420-420 and connect with the National Cannabis Coalition. You can also send $10 to the Russ Belville Show right from your smartphone. That's Russ to 420-420. You're listening to Radical Russ on the Russ Belville Show.
I'll say little red carpet, darling, your mud's too fierce. Little red carpet, you need a lover that's gonna lay.
Are you or is someone you know a marijuana smoker? Have you or is someone in your family been arrested for a marijuana violation? You need to know the truth about pot. NORML, the National Organization for the Reform of Marijuana Laws, is the most comprehensive source of information regarding marijuana and its effects on health, as well as legal issues. NORML even offers a database of lawyers specializing in cannabis in your area. NORML, the nation's largest and most successful marijuana law reform organization, has spent decades gathering the knowledge and science on everything related to cannabis. NORML is the best resource to find out the truth about marijuana, connect with a lawyer in your area, or help find an end to prohibition. Information is available at norml.org, that's NORML.org, or toll free at 888-67-NORML.
Drug Truth Network Cultural Baggage with Dean Becker from Houston, Texas, every Monday morning at 8 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Eastern, and 4 p.m. GMT, right here on 420radio.org. While humans have been using cannabis for medicinal purposes for over 5,000 years, medical science is only beginning to unlock the secrets of the endocannabinoid system and the promise of cannabinoid medicines. Join us now for the latest cannabinoid medicine update. All right, welcome back, everybody. 21 after the hour, and we're going to be dialing out now to Dr. David Bearman, a physician in California who's one of the members of the American Academy of Cannabinoid Medicine. We have to dial through his office, so we're going to have to let it ring and then talk to probably a receptionist, but we'll get Dr. Bearman here on the line. The American Academy of Cannabinoid Medicine is one of the leading groups with the set of doctors and other professionals that are working to make sure that the cannabis plant is utilized for all of its medical purposes. Go to the phone line here and see if we've got someone on.
Thank you for calling Dr. David Bearman's office. If this is an emergency,
oh yes, it's kind of an emergency.
And dial 9.
we have an appointment for a interview, so I would imagine it's kind of an emergency. I'll try the line again. We'll see if we can get him on here. There's also a society for cannabinoid physicians that they are merging with, and he was going to tell us a little bit about that as well. We'll try and get Dr. Bearman here on the line from California in our first cannabinoid medicine update. And we always want to remind you that here at 420 Radio, we are listener supported. Hello, we're trying to reach Dr. Bearman.
Oh, yeah. Can you hold for a minute?
Yes, please. Thanks.
Oh, sorry. Where are you calling from?
This is 420 Radio. We have a radio interview.
Oh, wait. Can you hold for a minute?
Yes. We're doing it live, folks. You can never accuse us of doing this pre-recorded.
Hi, Dr. Bearman here.
Hello, Dr. Bearman. This is Russ Belville from the Russ Belville Show.
All right. Nice talking to you, Russ.
It's nice to talk to you, sir. We talked a while ago, and you had some interesting information for us about the latest developments of the American Academy of Cannabinoid Medicine. But before we talk about this potential merging, give our listeners a little idea what the organization is about, how big it is, how broad it is across the country, and so forth.
Okay, well, we have two organizations that are similar. They're composed of medical personnel. The one that I helped start was the American Academy of Cannabinoid Medicine, and the other one was started by the late Todd McArea, who was a wonderful pioneer in our business, and that's called the Society of Cannabis Clinicians. And when we originally started our organization, we felt that there was so much, adverse publicity that the government had piled on Todd that it was better to have an outfit that was separate from the one that he started. Since then, Dr. Hergenrather, who's up in Sebastopol, has done a great job of organizing things for the Society of Cannabis Clinicians, and we decided that there's no need for two such organizations. Basically, what we're concerned about is trying to get physicians and the general public to take the science behind cannabinoid medicine seriously. And what we would like to do is to marginalize those doctors who are making medical marijuana recommendations and practicing what I've termed minimalist medicine, sort of, hello, how are you, give me the money, here's your recommendation. Mm-hmm. The fact of the matter is that there's an enormous amount of science that is available. And, we've seen this at a number of wonderful conferences Patients Out of Time has a conference every other year. The one this year is up in Portland, May 8th to May 10th. There's another group called the International Cannabinoid Research Society. And as you've noticed yourself, the content of the presentations at Normal have included a lot of material on medical cannabis, and that's even in the face of the fact that your mission is the legalization of cannabis for recreational uses. You've also seen that it's important to let your membership know that there's a lot of science out there saying not only does this make you feel good, but it actually is good for you. And I think this is really important. So one of the things that we've tried to do is to educate first the medical community, and secondly the general public about the science that is involved here, that this isn't just something, let's get high, and not as they would say on Seinfeld that there's anything wrong with that, but if we're talking about the medical use of cannabis, which until we had Colorado and Washington, that was really all we could talk about in terms of having legal access. Let's talk about the amazing science that there is there, and let's get the average physician to be familiar with this so we don't really have a big need for specialists like myself who pretty much mainly do cannabinoid medicine, but your general practitioner, your internist, will be glad to see you, and they'll feel comfortable and they'll understand this. And, we want people to understand that, cannabis has been a medicine for 5,000 years. The AMA testified against the Marijuana Tax Act. They said they didn't know of any problems with the medical use of marijuana. A lot of this stuff people just aren't aware of. Now, in terms of the breadth of the organization, the president of the AACM is Greg Carter, who is up in the state of Washington. And we have a couple of members up there. We have some members from the state of Colorado. Not surprisingly, we have members in most of the states where cannabis is legal. The doctor that was on Sanjay Gupta's special on CNN was a member of our organization. There's a lot of physicians in California who are members. We have some folks from Maine and from Massachusetts. And after that, the pickings got a little bit thin because those are most of the states in which we have seen legalized cannabis made available, and some of the states are taking a more serious role than others. I know the state of Massachusetts is making efforts to make sure that physicians know about cannabis and know what they're doing. I can't say the exact numbers for the Society of Cannabis Clinicians, but I think that the two organizations together probably have anywhere from 75 to 125 members, and that our list of interested people is 2 to 3 times that. But remember that a lot of these people are physicians, some of them are nurse practitioners, some of them are researchers, and what's important is for us to get the word out there, because I think more and more doctors recognize that this is serious business and that this is important information.
Yeah,
so
this
is
why it's
what we're
so
all
important.
about.
This is why it's so important we have groups like American Academy and Society for Cannabis Clinicians, is that I think people maybe don't recognize that not only do these doctors not know a lot about the latest developments and, say, understanding the endocannabinoid system or the different cannabinoids that are out there and their medical uses, they don't get the education in the medical schools, of course, but also there's a level of intimidation with respect to doctors and their federal prescribing rights. I mean, when medical marijuana first came out in '96, the Clinton administration was going to punish doctors that even talked about it. So talk a little bit about the progress we've made in getting doctors educated and what we need to do to get more of them on board.
Well, I think that what we need to do to get more of them on board is to work on the aura of demonization that still cloaks cannabis. When you talk about the big lie, people are very concerned about it. And one of the things that I see happening, I just had a patient in here today and I've actually had some business dealings with this person, and they said, well, I have had this pain problem, and my son told me to use cannabis, and finally brought some, and I tried it, and by golly, it really took care of my pain. So I think what's happening is that as we see the hippies getting older, and we see the children of people who maybe were contemporaries of the hippies but didn't use marijuana, there's a greater willingness to try this as an alternative to conventional medicine. And I think we may need to make that happen more often. What I'd like to see is pressure put on the media to drop the word pot, for instance, and call this what it is, cannabis. That was the position of the AMA in their testimony in 1937. And I'd like to see more use of physicians and scientists on national media.
Yes.
For instance, recently, ABC was talking about the recreational use of cannabis in Colorado, and rather than have a balanced approach in regards to its effect on driving, they only had a negative approach. And as we know, according to the Department of Transportation of the United States and also Canada's Department of Transportation, cannabis causes you to drive more carefully and more slowly. What is wrong with that? Also, we've noticed that the death rate from automobile accidents in both Colorado and California have dropped precipitously in the last 3 or 4 years, and I have to believe that at least part of that drop is due to fewer people drinking alcohol because they've replaced their alcohol consumption with cannabis. So right now, I think the focus needs to be on the media. And one other group is medical schools, because the endocannabinoid system is the largest neurotransmitter system in the brain and probably the whole body, and yet most medical schools don't even breathe the word endocannabinoid system. I mean, that is appalling to me.
Yeah. You spoke earlier about the demonization of cannabis as a medicine. Lately, cannabidiol, CBD, has gotten a lot of attention since the Sanjay Gupta documentary showing the amazing benefit epileptics can get from CBD. Do you fear that this is getting kind of to bifurcate the medical marijuana issue into being CBD good because it doesn't get you high, THC bad because it makes you high kind of situation?
Well, there may be some efforts to do that. I always like Dr. Abrams, who's up at the University of California, San Francisco position. Abrams is an oncologist and also was very active in treating people at the height of the AIDS epidemic. And he said, in my patient population, a little euphoria isn't a bad thing. And recognize that some of the best-selling drugs in the United States are drugs that are there to make you feel good. They're antidepressants, they're tranquilizers, and, what medical condition does Viagra and Cialis treat? I mean, it's there to make you feel good. So the idea that here we have a drug that makes you feel good and somehow it's different than other drugs, we have to get people to look at cannabis in the same way they look at other drugs. And once you do that, you recognize that it has fewer side effects than just about any other therapeutic agent, except maybe water.
Yeah. Well, Dr. Bearman, this is all amazing information that a lot of us know, but it's nice to hear it put so succinctly like you've done. And I want to remind folks, we're talking about the American Academy of Cannabinoid Medicine, and we're speaking with Dr. David Bearman. We've got to wrap things up, Dr. Bearman, so if people would like to learn more, do you have some web addresses you could give them?
I do. If they want to find out about me, they can go to davidbearmanmd.com. Bearman is spelled B as in boy, E-A-R-M-A-N. If they want to find out more about the American Academy of Cannabinoid Medicine, they can go to AACM.org. And one last thing, when we talked earlier, I mentioned that sometime this spring or early summer, I'll be coming out with a very comprehensive book on drug policy. It doesn't just cover marijuana, but there are 4 or 5 really good chapters in there, and it's called Not Tools of the Devil, and hopefully we'll have a chance at a future broadcast to talk a little bit more about that book.
Absolutely. We'll get you on the Reformers Reader segment, and as soon as you're ready to release that. Dr. Bearman, you've always been a gentleman and a scholar every time I've gotten a chance to see you, and I hope to see you again soon sometime. Thank you very much. Good luck to you in the coming year. Thank you. All right, folks, that's Dr. David Bearman from the American Academy of Cannabinoid Medicines. Check them out at AACMSITE.org. And when we come back, we'll have time for a radical rant. I got 6, count them, 6 right-wing blowhards lined up with their doom and gloom predictions about legal marijuana. Stick around.
The Russ Belville Show is blogging and podcasting daily at radicalruss.com.
Georgia. Hi, this is Willie Nelson, and I need your help. Alcohol prohibition didn't work in the 20s, and marijuana prohibition isn't working today. It's time we stop arresting law-abiding citizens because they prefer marijuana over alcohol. Nearly 2,000 Americans are arrested every day on marijuana charges. We're unfairly destroying the lives and careers of hundreds of thousands of people each year simply because they smoke marijuana. These are not criminals. They're average citizens like you, good neighbors who work hard, raise families, pay taxes, and contribute to their communities. We need your help to end marijuana prohibition once and for all. It's the fair thing to do.
For more information, contact NORML, the National Organization for the Reform of Marijuana Laws. Call toll-free 888-67-NORML or visit their website at norml.org.
You can get 420 Radio on the go with the Ustream video app for Android and iPhone. Go to rad-r.us/420Ustream or just click the Ustream app icon for Android or iPhone below the live radio feed at 420 Radio.
I have to say that there was one question that was voted on that ranked fairly high, and that was whether legalizing marijuana would improve the economy and job creation. I don't know what this says about the online audience, but the answer is no. I don't think that is a good strategy to grow our economy. So.
Nearly 1 million lives wrecked by a marijuana arrest every year, Mr. President. Politely tell President Obama what you think about legalization by calling the White House at 202-456-1111.
You want answers? I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore. You want answers?
You have offended my family.
I think I'm entitled. You want answers? I want the truth.
And you have offended a Shaolin temple.
You can't handle the truth.
Surely you can't be serious.
I am serious. And don't call me Shirley.
radical rant.
Well, they legalized marijuana sales in Colorado. Therefore, the entire coterie of pundits on the right wing are exploding like the guy's head in scanners, man. They just can't handle the idea that the stoners are able to do it out in the open in front of everybody and not be punished and reviled and castigated. I collected 6 of them here, just at random, just over the past week here, to see what the right wing is saying about the legalization of pot. First of all, we're going to start out with Bill O'Reilly. He was on a segment that was a couple of weeks ago. I actually showed some of this. I will read to you the transcript of the show. He's speaking with Juan Williams, who is what passes for a liberal on Fox News. Bill O'Reilly says, primarily, the left embraces the drug culture to some extent. What is it about the drug culture that's so compelling for some of them? Williams answers, well, I don't think it's compelling, but I think that if you start to arrest their children and give them records and put barriers in front of their futures and their careers, I think people say, wait a second. As you said in the previous segment, this is soft drug use. Why are you arresting and giving this kid a record, especially minority kids? Disproportionately, they're the ones who get arrested. To which O'Reilly answers with a straight face, only dealers, Juan. There's no mass arrest of users. No, Bill. And then another guest on the show says, no, users are arrested. And O'Reilly says, no, they get a ticket, Juan. And Williams says, I don't think that's right. And Bill says, no, it is right. So, Bill, just to fill you in, buddy, 750,000 Americans get arrested for marijuana every year in this country, and 88% of those people are merely possessing, not the people that are growing or selling. So we're talking somewhere in the ballpark of 680,000 people, 680,000 marijuana arrests. New York City, and I know, is O'Reilly's show filmed in New York? I think it is. New York City, 50,000 arrests every year, mostly black and Latino men. But, they only just get a ticket. This has got to be part of why the over 65 crowd that watches Bill O'Reilly's show, why those people in the polls keep supporting prohibition. They must not think that there's anything terrible going on here. Let's move on down the right-wing dial to headline news, where Nancy Grace, the most ironically named person in America, Nancy Grace asks, do you want your babysitter on pot? Newsflash, Nancy, some of them are. Jesus. That's about the only way you can put up with your little brat. But on headline news, Nancy Grace on Monday afternoon said, quote, when I'm at work, I don't want my babysitter high on pot. The ones that are disagreeing are lethargic, sitting on the sofa eating chips. Pot, it makes you fat and lazy, she said. Fat and lazy. Yeah. That's the Michael Phelps fan club applauding. Yeah, fat and lazy. Michael Phelps, 20 gold medals. Next! 60% of the NBA. Next! Numerous pro football players. Next! The entire genre of snowboarding. Next! Bunch of fat, lazy bastards, I suppose. All right, let's get down to the print pundits. These have been talked about a lot lately. Ruth Marcus, writing in the Washington Post, admits that she has smoked pot. She admits that she smoked pot and actually even said, quote, next time I'm in Colorado, I expect I'll check out some Bubba Kush. Why not? Indeed, why not? You're an adult. Head on down to Denver and pick up some Bubba Kush. But then she continues just a couple of lines down and says, still, widespread legalization is a bad idea, if an inevitable development. I'm not arguing that marijuana is riskier than other already legal substances, namely alcohol and tobacco. Indeed, pot is less addictive. An occasional joint strikes me as no worse than an occasional drink. If you had a choice of which of the 3 substances to ban, tobacco would have to top the list. Unlike pot and alcohol, tobacco has no socially redeeming value. Used properly, it is a killer. So the reason to single out marijuana is the simple fact of its current semi-illegality. Huh? So let me see if I'm following the bouncing ball of Washington Post logic on this one, Ruth. Marijuana is safer than tobacco. It's safer than alcohol. There's nothing wrong with using it occasionally. No worse than an occasional drink, you say. But because it's already illegal, it should stay illegal. Wow. Okay. And this is how she manages to justify it, is, of course, that heavy cannabis use in adolescence causes persistent impairments in neurocognitive performance and IQ, and use is associated with the increased rates of anxiety, mood, and psychotic thought disorders. Long-term users saw an average decline of 8 points in IQ, blah, blah, blah. We've heard this so many times. Ruth, if this is your justification for what drugs are going to be legal, I implore you to look up the statistics and the studies and the science on what happens to adolescents' brains when they drink. Please look that up and explain to me why we're not having any problem with adults over 21 who want to drink, even though kids who drink, it's really bad for them. But that has to apply to marijuana. It doesn't make any sense. David Brooks, of course, in the New York Times, wrote his line, Weed, Been There, Done That, where he admits that he smoked pot when he was a kid, that he had uninhibited frolic that deepened his friendships, and fond memories of getting silly on pot, but that he gave it up, he grew out of it, and now it should be remained illegal for other people like him when he was a teenager. Of course, it's because it's addictive to 1 in 6 teenagers. Smoking and driving will get you killed, and young people have IQ loss and poor performance on cognitive tests. Again, this has been debunked so many times, but they can't let go of it. Shall I just say Carl Sagan? Shall I say Richard Feynman? How many brilliant people do I have to name? I don't particularly think Barack Obama is any dummy, right? Smoked a lot of pot as an adolescent. But he goes on to say basically that smoking, not smoking or smoking sporadically gave you a better shot at becoming a little more integrated and interesting. Smoking all the time seemed to cumulatively fragment a person's deep center, or at least not do much to enhance it. He says that government should subtly tip the scales to favor temperate, prudent, self-governing citizenship, encourage the highest pleasures like enjoying the arts, and discourage lesser pleasures like being stoned. With guns and cops and cages and dogs and drug tests and lives ruined and scholarships lost and jobs lost and children lost and homes lost. That's not exactly a subtle encouragement from our government, David. In the New York Daily News, S.E. Cupp, I don't know if you know this lady, S.E. Cupp comes up with the wildest pot article here. Pot could put progressives in a tough spot. And she argues that there's glaring inconsistencies between the liberal argument for pot legalization and positions on other issues. An example is gun control. The same argument used against guns is used for pot, that legalizing pot and making more available will reduce crime. But no good liberal would say the same of guns, though there's substantial evidence to prove more guns equals less crime. What? Okay, so we have, 10,000 gun murders a year in this country, and we have the most guns of any society, pretty much. Crime hasn't been outlawed here in America. There's a whole lot of countries that have more stringent gun regulations and less crime than America. I don't even know where from the deep bowels of her ass she pulled out this sort of statistic. She also says we're told pot users will use marijuana responsibly in the privacy of their own homes, but how will these people who've presumably broken the law by possessing marijuana in the past, how will we know that they're responsible people? Because, they got pot in the past, they broke the law, so they're lawbreakers now and forever. And why aren't lawful gun owners afforded the same level of trust? Well, sorry, S.E., smoking pot, no matter how much I smoke, no matter how hard I smoke, no matter where I smoke it, is not going to get anyone else high. My gun, on the other hand, might shoot someone else. You can throw this argument in the trash heap because it is bullshit. And finally, Joe Scarborough from Morning Joe writes of marijuana and ignorance and simply says, pot just makes you dumb. Unlike alcohol, pot rarely makes you an angry stoner. Unlike coke, pot rarely makes you bankrupt. And unlike heroin, pot rarely makes you dead. Nope, in my 3 decades or so around a multitude of pot smokers, I have found that all too often, pot just makes you dumb. Could it be that pot makes you smart enough to not want to hang out with Joe Scarborough? There's your 6 right-wing blowhards on marijuana legalization. We'll take this into Hour 2 Toker Talk Radio. We're hanging out with Eden and Brian the Red and Craig. We'll have a lot of discussion. I got more stories lined up, plenty to go over right here on Toker Talk Radio. Rest in peace, Stereotype. This one's for you, buddy. And until next time, take care of each other, Tokers.
This is the Russ Belville Show. The Russ Belville Show is blogging and podcasting daily at radicalruss.com.
You take a seed, you plant it, you grow it, you dry it, you roll it, you smoke it. You take a seed, you plant it, you grow it, you dry it, you roll it, you smoke it. You take a seed, you